This is the voice of the Report of the Week, signing on. Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone listening. This is VORW Radio International, the voice of the Report of the Week. It is Thursday, the 25th of October, 2018. You also may be listening to this broadcast on Saturday, the 27th of October, 2018, Sunday, the 28th of October, 2018. VORW Radio International is a weekly light entertainment program which features a mixture of my talk and commentary as well as listener-requested music. VORW Radio International can be heard online via TuneIn Radio, SoundCloud, on your phone via the TuneIn and SoundCloud radio apps. This broadcast also goes out to you on the international shortwave frequencies of 99.55 kHz, 93.95, 7780, 7730, 7570, 5950, 5850, 5130, and 4840 kilohertz. No matter how you're listening, when you're listening, or where you're listening from, I wish you good reception conditions, and I hope you enjoy this broadcast. I decided to just start recording everything outside on this evening. Yet again, you can likely hear the nighttime fauna, making their little noises, the crickets or whatever they may be. It's a decent night, though. I mean, it's a little more on the chillier side, which isn't any surprise. I mean, even here in Florida, you're starting to get some signs of fall. Granted, there's no frost or anything, but, you can tell, obviously, it does not have that pronounced humidity or overwhelming heat anymore. It's comfortably warm, as I would define it. But I hope things are good wherever you are. Hope the weather is not too harsh and is to your liking. I know the weather, it's something we all have to deal with, so hopefully it's working out in your favor. And if not, fingers crossed for a better one. Well, what a week. I tell you that. What a week. Of course, when it comes down to what's going on in the world, right? Oh, everything. The news cycle is what it is. One story, comes up and everyone acts like it's the biggest thing that's ever happened, and then everyone forgets about it in a week. That's just the way things are. One thing that I'll say it this week, and I'll probably even emphasize it more next week. If you're in the United States, you gotta vote. That's all that I'll say right now. You gotta vote. Okay? I mean, it is probably one of the most important rights we have as U.S. citizens. Exercise that right, especially, so many young people. I was reading on the news the other day, we were saying aren't probably going to be voting, aren't going to be motivated to vote when it comes down to the midterm elections this year. And, I could understand why. Sometimes a lot of people aren't willing to really have that drive or motivation to vote on something unless it directly impacts them or it's a huge election, like for president or whatever. But you just got to remember, things, they trickle their way down. When it comes down to decisions and decision-making, just go out and vote. That's all that I'm going to say this time around. Or do early voting. A lot of places have that. Mail-in, absentee voting. Look, you can't vote in on election day. There are ways to do it. Just exercise that right to vote. And I'm going to talk about that more probably next week, whereas election day just comes closer, so to speak. And it's just such an important thing, in my opinion. And when voter turnout, ends up being low, it's always disappointing. I wish more people were interested, perhaps, in going out and actually voting. But anyway, of course, election season is here. You're seeing all of the political ads on television now, at least here in Florida, especially one of the states, where a lot of people, they pool the money and resources for one party or the next. So I was watching the local news on TV, and you see one ad that comes up, vote for so-and-so, right, because their opponent is this, and this. And then literally back to back, their opponent comes on with another ad, says, no, vote for me instead, because this guy is responsible for this and this. And then another ad comes on with a third person saying, no, don't vote for either of those, I'm the best one. Oh, it is what it is. Political ads, attack ads, you see so many of them. Research the candidates, in my opinion. Make that decision. Most importantly, if I were to offer my own personal advice, not even partisan-wise, vote for the candidate that you think actually cares about you as a person, not just about money or greed or any of that. And sometimes it's hard to find a candidate that, kind of gives off that impression. Sometimes all of the mainstream candidates have, special interests, and just seems like all their eyes are just on the dollar signs, and that's it. I think that goes for so many politicians. And sometimes if that's the case, you still have the option to write in and vote third party. Yeah, the person isn't going to win for the most part, but you're still taking advantage of that right to vote. And I think, even if you do not care one single bit who gets elected to the House of Representatives, or who gets elected as governor, or United States Senate, or just local politics, right? You don't care. Keep in mind that with a lot of elections, right, yeah, you are voting for these people, for these certain positions. At the same time, though, a lot of the ballots also come with various propositions on it, and various potential amendments, where you literally are voting on certain changes that may or may not take place. If anything else, if there is anything that may very well directly impact your life, it's probably going to be one of those propositions on the ballot. So even if you do not give a single you-know-what about any of the old gray politicians on the ballot that all look and sound the same, if anything, go to the polls to voice your opinion through a vote, usually agree, disagree, support, otherwise, to these propositions, these amendments. If there's one thing that'll probably have the greatest impact on your life, it'll likely be those. Research them, be informed, there's still time, and if you can, make your way down to the polls and exercise that right to vote. That's what I have to say on that matter. And with that, I want to get down to how things were for me in the last week. I made a video on this the other day because it kind of got to a boiling point, and maybe I'll syndicate the audio of it at some point in this broadcast. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. I don't know. I have a feeling a lot of the people listening to this program online have already heard this this video before, so you know what I'm talking about. Maybe those on the radio haven't. If I do, maybe it'll be perhaps toward the end of this show. But nonetheless, I'll try to, maybe I'll elaborate a little more on it or whatever. I had a very frustrating experience the other day. It was on Monday. I believe it was Monday the 22nd of October 2018. And for YouTube, what I do is I manage a YouTube channel. I do the YouTube thing. That's really what I do full-time. And, people already, right? Because this is one important thing that I've learned through YouTube. You can say anything you want, whether it's true or false, and you're always going to have someone that disagrees with you. But I do YouTube full-time, really as my job. It's what brings in, some degree of revenue anyway. And my YouTube channel, it's called The Report of the Week. And I mostly review things on it. That's what the YouTube channel is known for the most. And that isn't to say that's the only thing that I do on it. That's simply what the YouTube channel is best known for. Doing reviews of stuff, mostly food, fast food reviews. And a lot of people really did subscribe to the channel because of the food reviews. That's just the way it is. I look at the statistics and the numbers don't lie. And, of course, the one thing that had bothered me for a little bit was I had felt for a while that I had typecast myself, so to speak. And what, it is what it is. If I did, I did it. What can you do? You just gotta shrug, and that's it. When something is kind of set in stone, or so you feel that it is, you can't let it eat away at you. Because, of course, I enjoy food just as much as the next person, but that isn't the only thing that I do with my life. I was kind of saying, I do plenty other things. I focus and study current events. Of course, radio listening, radio broadcasting, and, so many other things. But whenever I try to share, my interests and anything that isn't food-related with YouTube, and, make a YouTube video about it, I would get a bit demoralized because no one would watch it. No one really gave a you-know-what about anything that I had to say, aside from talking about a burger. And that kind of had me disappointed for a while. It was something that it was a feeling that I was trying to battle for weeks, I would say, quite frankly, where, I would be trying to make non-food related videos, and, it'd be something that I really had the energy to do, something that I really had that drive and motivation to go ahead with. But I would go for it, I would spend a lot of time on it, and no one would be interested in it. Now, you can't blame people for not being interested in something, right? To say that alone is very selfish. To expect people to be interested, like as a whole, in exactly what it is that you're interested in is ignorant and it's selfish. You can't expect that. So of course things are going to kind of waver a little bit there. But nonetheless, it was still disappointing, right? When, again, you enjoy doing reviews of the food and all that, but that's not your life. That's not what, let me try and talk in first person. That's not what I do 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And when I try to share anything else, it doesn't really go over very well. And the way YouTube is, it's all focused around an algorithm. So what you upload, and forget it, I'm just going to talk in third person. Again, that's just what's easiest. When what you upload really matters. And if you upload something different, not a lot of people watch it very much, or attention is low, it's going to hurt your channel in the algorithm. That's the only thing that even allows your YouTube channel to grow, and for people to find it in the first place. So not only did I kind of get a bit of a gut punch, so to speak, but, I would put all this effort into these other projects and they wouldn't work out well, I would also be shooting myself in the foot at the same time, because it would negatively impact my channel in YouTube's algorithm. So I kind of felt trapped in a way. I felt like I kind of had this ball and chain, tied to me, that despite anything else, all I can do on this YouTube channel is talk about a burger or whatever. And sometimes it would just be a little disappointing. For instance, when I would see someone, make a write-up about my YouTube channel and, only classify it as, this guy in old, oversized suits chowing down on the latest chalupa from Taco Bell. And I was thinking to myself, but that's not really me. I mean, I know that's what I do on YouTube. And the reason why I do it is because that's what I feel comfortable doing. And it's the only thing that goes over well. But I mean, if there's nothing impactful about that at all. And it was just a little disappointing, It's like everything else that you're interested in or want to do is kind of just pushed aside with the spotlight being shown only on this one single, really irrelevant thing. Well, nonetheless, you kind of shrug your shoulders and I say, well, I got to do something, I've got to pay the bills, buy food, whatever. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I'm going to get it off the bat right now. I don't talk about this a lot, but I struggle with terrible social anxiety and other mental illnesses that are so stigmatized. I refuse to really bring it up any further than that because, you do get discriminated against. It's no lie. And as a result, though, when you have bad days and you're completely out of commission, look, jobs aren't going to take any of that crap. You're going to get fired. You got to keep a schedule. You got to stick to the schedule. And if you can't, you're too weak, right? You're too weak. And you got to toughen up. And if not, too bad, Go hire someone who's stronger and better than you. I'm not saying that that's the truth. I absolutely detest that mindset. But that's how a lot of people think today. People can say otherwise in the public spotlight because it makes them look bad, but that's how a lot of people still think. But anyway, I continued onward, and the other day I felt like I had to do a review of this new burger that was supposed to come out from Burger King. And I might say, why did you feel like you had to do this review? Well, because I felt like I needed to do this review because it would benefit the channel and the algorithm. Anything else it would fall flat on its face. People only want to see me talk about food, so I have to review this burger, Now, when you look at it, looking back upon it, you realize right then and there what a stupid thing that is to think. I mean, to put so much emphasis on an absolutely irrelevant sandwich is just plain idiotic. And it's not like the sandwich had a bun that was made out of gold, that was worth a ton of money, or that, hidden inside the beef patty was the, winning Mega Millions lottery ticket, or anything like that made it of such urgency that it could, really help you and a lot of other people out. It was a burger with a green bun. And I always leave the pause there, because you kind of think on it afterwards, and you think, so that's it? I mean, that's all that there is to it? It's a burger with a green bun. And I felt like I had to review that sandwich the day it was released, as soon as it was released. And there was an availability issue with it. And I was frustrated. I was so fed up. I couldn't get my hands on this sandwich, but I had to, that's what part of me was telling me. I had to. This is life or death, man. I had to get my hands on this sandwich. I know it sounds funny, but that's what I was thinking and feeling at the time. And I called around, I traveled around, tried to get my hands on this thing, to no avail. And at the end of the day, I was so exhausted, I was so frustrated, And I was so fed up to the point where I was just, I felt physically sick. And I went to sleep and had a good long rest. And when I woke up the next day, I realized, you know what? It should never get to a point where you end up feeling that way, getting so stressed out, getting in such a state over an absolutely, completely, totally irrelevant sandwich. That it might be gimmicky, people might be talking about it, but guess what? Just like the news cycle, people are going to forget about it probably a lot faster than they will other current events. In the end, that burger is absolutely, totally meaningless in every way, shape, or form. It will have no true impact on anyone's life, or anyone's future, or any of that. It's a useless, worthless gimmick that you should not feel so concerned about. And that's when, the other day, I kind of took to the camera and I made a video about it. And I kind of just vented for a little bit, where I shared my frustrations. I said, look, I don't mind doing these reviews, but as I just said, it shouldn't get to a point where you end up feeling that way about what it is that you're doing. So I said, from this point forward, I'm going to make a few changes with the YouTube channel. And you know what? If these changes kill the channel, and no one ends up watching it in the end, well, guess what? That's just what's going to end up happening. Because in the end, you could really take this two ways when it comes down to YouTube. You can either go ahead and keep getting so worked up about these pieces of food, and people are eventually going to lose interest, and they're going to stop watching. Or, you can go out, and you can do what you want to do. Sure, do the reviews too, if that's what really is where the bread and butter of things is, so to speak, and you feel comfortable doing it, sure. Go ahead and do that too. But incorporate some of the things that you enjoy talking about, maybe history, maybe talk about music, radio, whatever. Incorporate that too, because guess what? People are going to lose interest anyway. At least have a little fun with it as it's happening. Enjoy it. Do what makes you happy. And you know what? If it's a smash hit, that's wonderful. And if it's not, and even fewer and fewer and fewer people start watching it, I said, you know what? I'm just going to do me. I'm going to do me. I'm going to make the videos that I want to do. Even if it ends up hurting me in the end, I think that's the most important thing. I'm going to do me. Yeah, I'm still going to do the reviews that everyone likes to see, but I'm not going to put as much emphasis or seriousness on it as I had done in the past. Because it's not worth it, I guess is the best way to say it. When it comes down to any creative pursuit, whether you're doing YouTube, whether you're doing streaming, writing, music, art, a shortwave radio show, you gotta do what you enjoy doing. And even if that is not possible in its truest sense, try to find a way to incorporate some of those aspects of what it is you enjoy doing into your day-to-day life. That's what it's all about. As I said in that video, as far as I'm concerned, we're here only once. As a result, I think we should all at least try to have a little happiness in our lives. But with that, I kind of vented it out, and I got the video out. And at first, the response to it was very negative, believe it or not. And I kind of went to sleep pretty depressed about it. I thought, for God's sake, I can't even voice the thoughts about my own channel that I manage, and I can't even do with it what I want. But then as I And I kind of apologized about it. I felt bad. I felt, look, I was just trying to be honest, and all that I did in the end was just anger a bunch of folks. But when I woke up after a long sleep, I guess more people watched it, and the response was more understanding than I guess because I fell asleep pretty soon after I uploaded, so I was only able to see a little bit of the response that came in. But there was a lot of people that were understanding, I should say. And of course, as I said, you could say anything you want. People will fight you and disagree with you. But I just realized sometimes the smallest, what is the saying, right? Like the smallest dog has the biggest bark, or whatever. Where you'll have these naysayers, and they'll really just try to go out their way and try to let their negativity and hatred and whatever get out there, and you just got to forget about them. So I did, and I woke up and started a new day. And with that, I realized how important it is that in life you got to do you. You've got to do what you enjoy doing, and you can't let those things that, as I said, in the end, are just so meaningless, just get the best of you to such a degree. Now, look, that's not saying that if we can suddenly just flip a switch and I'll be able to do what I enjoy doing, and I'm suddenly going to be the happiest person in the world, and I'm going to be rich, and I'm going to be able to buy everyone I know a sports car because I'm doing what I enjoy doing, and I'm just reaping the benefits. Of course, life doesn't work that way. More often than not, the sick, lying, cheating psychopaths are the ones that will make out in the end. But still, there will be times where, we will have to do things we don't enjoy doing in life. But the most important thing is to try to take, if anything, as I said, aspects of what it is that you enjoy doing, try to incorporate it into your life. That can, in my opinion, lead to perhaps a much happier life. Perhaps even work to eliminate stress, You just don't know until you try it. But having that happiness in your life is, I think, the most important thing. We're not going to be happy all the time, but I certainly think doing some of the things we want to do in life, as long as it's not hurting or harming others, is just such an extremely important thing, in my opinion anyway. So that's what I was talking about, and that's what I kind of, it's something that I had already lectured on before, but sometimes, my own words came around and just kind of reinforced that, so to speak, just through something that ended up happening the other day. And I realized, it might be those food reviews or whatever that I feel that people want to see the most, but if it creates such feelings of, of stress and of upset and whatever in the end, yeah, you could still do them if you want to, but you just have to try to find ways to just do what you enjoy doing. And as a result, when it comes down to YouTube, as I said, I might just start making more random videos, regardless of how they go over. If I have my thoughts on one thing or another, I'm just going to do that. If it floats, it floats. If it sinks, it sinks. And that's going to be all right. I had a fun time doing it. That's what matters. So with that, thank you for bearing with me today. I've just kind of had a train of thought that I wanted to just let out and share with all of you. This is VORW Radio International, the voice of the Report of the Week. Your feedback is most welcome. The email address for correspondence is vorwinfo@gmail.com. That's vorwinfo@gmail.com. Once again, I repeat, vorwinfo@gmail.com. I have no way of knowing that anyone is listening to this show unless you let me know that you are listening. We've recently been getting some messages that really are very, very beneficial. Where you have to realize, now if you would like to write, you can keep your messages as long or as short as you would like. But even if it is an incredibly short email, right? Like, let's say you're listening on your phone or on radio or whatever, and you have access to the internet, you can just open up your email, type in VORWINFO@gmail.com, and just type in the email, "Hi, listening on TuneIn or SoundCloud or, shortwave from wherever, from Canada, from New York City, from Hong Kong, or whatever." And just a short email like that, which can be assembled and sent out in probably under 15 seconds. Well, it depends on your internet speed. But something like that can be sent out so quickly, and it's so important because right then and there, well, now I know that someone is listening. So that's why it's so important. As a result, anyway, before I get on to anything else, this is a very talk-centered show today. And, it's miscellaneous talk. The discussion is going to vary week to week, and that's just the way the show is. Some weeks there's going to be more music than others, and I hope everyone's all right with that. But here's what it comes down to. Doing what you want to do. And I emphasized in the video, this radio show is really what I enjoy doing the most. I mean, that's why online and on the YouTube, I try to go out of my way to promote this broadcast at every opportunity that I can. Because with that, I try to expand its audience and allow for there to be some form of continuity, so to speak, and allow it to have an audience. And I try to tell people, maybe promote it to your friends. Look, they might not care about the show, but you never know. Trying to grow the listener base is something that I try to work on quite a bit, and with that, if there's anyone you think might be interested in it, if you have friends who are fans of the YouTube channel, maybe share the SoundCloud link with them. Show them the SoundCloud page. Maybe they'll be interested in it. Someone who is looking for a show to listen to, on the radio or whatever, maybe promote it. You have people at your radio club or whatever. Hey, give them the frequency. You never know. Some people won't like it. This isn't for everyone. Nothing is. But there might be a few people that will. Who's to say, but it's always helpful to get the word out about the show. On one final note, there are a few scheduling announcements that I wanted to make. So bear with me here. I know we're kind of getting already past the halfway mark on this program, but I just wanted to really get the most important, at least as I felt, thoughts off my chest, so to speak, and get it out there. And from that, then get to the schedule things, because I think it's just a hierarchy in my head of the things I wanted to address in that order. So here are a few scheduling changes that are going to be coming up. For any shortwave radio listeners, if you are on the west coast of the United States, so really anywhere in North America, starting on November 1st, 2018, that's next week, the broadcast on 7730 kilohertz, that's 7730 kilohertz, 7.730 megahertz, at the time of 9 p.m. Pacific, that's midnight Eastern, 4 hours UTC, is going to be discontinued. Funds are just down. What more can I say? And listenership for that broadcast is just too low to justify continuing it. Now, I know that there are people who listen to the shortwave each and every single week and never write in. I mean, look, I'll be quite honest right now. I broadcast a show on shortwave, and I listen to shortwave radio. I usually listen to it for a couple hours every day. For instance, I listen to Radio New Zealand International, right? Or sometimes I'll tune in to some of the brokered programming on the various stations. Like sometimes I'll listen to this one music show on WBCQ called the Alan Sane Show. Or I'll listen to Radio New York International with Johnny Lightning. Or I'll tune into programs on WRMI, Jazz from the Left, it's a good show. Or on WWCR, I'll sometimes tune into Worldwide Country Radio, Ask WWCR. The one show, I forget the name, but they play very, very old, phonograph records. And I listen to these programs regularly, but do I ever write in? Very, very seldom do I. That doesn't mean that I don't listen, because I tune in regularly. I know that there's a lot of people out there like that in the world of radio in general, and I know that there are people who will be impacted by this change. But as I said, when I do the broadcasts, I try to just look at correspondence that comes in, the rate of which it comes in, how many come in, and, for several weeks, the broadcast goes out, it blankets the West Coast, and I'll get a grand total of 0 emails from anyone reporting any reception of that transmission. So, as a result, even if not even one single email comes in, I just can't justify keeping that on the air anymore. So that one will be discontinued. Listeners on the West Coast can still tune in on shortwave, though. They can listen at the time of 5 p.m. Pacific on 7730 kilohertz and at 6 p.m. Pacific on 5850 kilohertz. I thought that the later airing might have done a little better because it's more prime time, but listening habits are what they are and you can't change that. On one other note, when it comes down to scheduling and keeping this show going, funds are always low for the show. The YouTube views are going down. As I said, that's where the money is really made, and that's what is used to try to keep things going in day-to-day life, to try to take care of myself and my loved ones, and, to get a place to live, to pay bills, buy food and gas and all of that. And as a result, when views go down, the rate that the ad rates go down as well, revenue goes down. I can't afford to take anything out of that would otherwise go to rent to pay for radio broadcasts. So with that, all I ask is if you want to help support this radio show and help keep it going for another month, donations are very welcome at VORWINFO@gmail.com. That's via PayPal to VORWINFO@gmail.com. Again, via PayPal, VORWINFO@gmail.com. The one broadcast that I do every Saturday on 4840 kilohertz gets out a wonderful signal, very, very powerful, one of the best signals out there, and it has extremely high listenership. But when funding is low and the airtime rate, is high, look, you get what you pay for, but if no returns come in, you got to do what you've got to do to just keep yourself afloat. Help keep this going, dear listeners. Listenership is pretty much the highest it's been in a long time. Support is the lowest it's been in a long time. Help keep it going if you can spare anything. Other ways to support this broadcast is via Patreon at patreon.com/The Report of the Week. If you would like to obtain any merchandise, that of course is another way to help things out. You can find it at teespring.com/stores/The Report of the Week. And if you want to get into the world of shortwave radio, I have an Amazon influencer page. It has all these shortwave radios and stuff that you could buy to listen to this program on, and some of the proceeds from that, a very small amount, but still anything helps, can go to help keep this show going. You can find that at amazon.com/shop/The Report of the Week. That's amazon.com/shop/The Report of the Week. In short, do what makes you happy. Try to find a way to do it as long as it's not hurting or harming other people. Try not to let the little things that are truly irrelevant get the best of you and cause such undue stress. Broadcasts on 7730 kilohertz at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, 4 hours UTC are discontinued starting November 1st, and help keep all the other broadcasts, especially the airing on 4840 kilohertz, keep them going, keep them on the air. Donations via PayPal to VORWINFO@gmail.com. Alright, let me check the time right now, and let's see how many minutes past the hour we are. We're getting around the 40-minute mark, a little bit past that. So with that, we're just going to jump into some of the music. I might run overtime on SoundCloud, we'll see. This song is going to be a selection of my own choice. It's an instrumental piece. And, I heard this the other day, and I thought to myself, this is pretty cool. I've never really heard it before. It's from a very obscure indie group from about 10 years ago that isn't even around anymore. So I hope it proves to be enjoyable. And again, if you're listening in right now, your questions, comments, reception reports, or music requests are welcome at VORWINFO@gmail.com. Stay tuned and enjoy some music on VORW.